Right, well, just a little update with this one. I've got it all back together again and I've had it running. I had to let it cool down and readjust the exhaust tappet on this side. Basically because when I took the rocker box off to deal with that, what turns out to be called a Thackeray washer, I couldn't remember the name of it, the sprung washer that sort of takes care of side to side thrust on the rocker, I also noticed that there was a hell of a lot of slap in the exhaust tappet on this side, which turned out to be as a result that the of the pushrod cup not being engaged with the ball on the rocker. The pushrod was actually pushing up on the back edge of the rocker and merrily sort of hammering away. Obviously I must have done the Black Mountain ride with it like that, believe it or not. The cup of the pushrod was sort of marked and burred a little, but not destroyed. So I put it all back together as it should be and engaged properly with the ball end on the rocker. I ran the engine for a short while and then checked again, and the valve clearance had opened up like I expected it might. Obviously the slightly sort of roughed up edges of the socket on the pushrod must have taken up a little bit of clearance, and running it for a couple of minutes sorted that out, everything settled down, so I've set the valve clearance again correctly and I've run the engine and it's now nice and quiet. Also, for the carburetors, the 106.5 needle jets turned up this morning, so I fitted them. I've already mentioned that the needles had this sort of greenish coating on them that was sort of baked on. I cleaned them as well previously. So we've now got the 106.5 needle jets in there, and I've put the needles down. They had originally been in their middle groove. They should have been in the second one apparently, according to the factory specs. So I ended up with them in the fourth groove. I've put them back to the third, which is one richer than listed in the information. So we've got that set up with the correct needle jets. The rocker's working properly now. The valve clearances are correct. I also found that after disconnecting the breather pipe from the crankcase that was joined into the breather pipe from the oil tank, I separated them but found I was getting a little bit of drip of oil out the crankcase breather pipe. So what I've done is I've joined that up to the end of the breather pipe that comes out the primary case. But I checked by blowing through the pipe coming out the primary case. The primary case is certainly not airtight, so the engine can actually breathe into there, and it's not airtight in the primary case because obviously you've just got that metal disc around the main shaft there to sort of hopefully stop oil coming out, which seems to work, but it's not airtight. So I've now got the crankcase breather working and breathing. Any oil that it might spit out, the odd drips, will probably go into the primary case rather than onto the road or onto the rear tyre. So that's pretty much where we're at the moment. And I also found out, I think the lights went out on it because there was one wire from the alternator wasn't quite fully home in its bullet connector. I pushed that in, I've run the engine, and the lights have lit when you run and rev the engine a bit, but the battery is completely flat, so I'm going to charge that up. Then I think I'll probably have another short ride on it. I don't think it's necessary to do the Black Mountain again. I'll do something a little bit more local just to make sure that everything's happy with life, and we might just be on the home straight now. Fingers crossed.